It is another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is a mind reader, speaker, and author, Jonathan Pritchard. We're going to talk with him about what it's like to play for a living, and you can find him at jonathanpritchard.me or elite.university for his speaking, coaching, and training there. The show is brought to you by Playful Humans. This is a community helping adults rediscover the power of play and find more fun, flow, and fulfillment in your life. We have a free playful personality quiz you can take there at playfulhumans.com, or you can just join the community, connect with other people doing fun, playful things. Here we go. All right, Jonathan, we like to start with the joke of the week. The joke of the week is brought to you by Panic Rooms. Any room can be a panic room if you lose your cell phone. All right, what is brown, looks like a bell, and smells like poo? No, wait, I messed that up. This is the first time I messed up the joke. I'm so disappointed. Maybe I said it right. It looks brown
for the milestone.
Sounds like a bell and smells like shit.
I don't know. A bell made of shit?
Dung!
All right, that's great. Right. I love the homophone.
With it. Yes. Awesome. Well, let's tell everybody here first about what you do, because you, like me, kind of have two careers here. We have the one that's just for fun. You're a professional mind reader and mentalist, and you've been doing that at trade shows and corporate events and all those kind of things for a long time. On television, we talked about before we hit record here, Scam School, but you've been on national television in the UK and even traveled like USO tours in America and stuff too, right? Any other highlights I missed from the mentalism?
I'm nice to my mom. That's a highlight I like. But yeah, it's I've worked on some cool national TV projects for names you would recognize. Got flown out to Vegas, put up at the Luxor, and that was a fun time. So yeah, I've been in front of and behind a lot of cameras for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and I think you're either like the fourth or fifth America's Got Talent alumni on the show. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun experience that taught me a lot about showbiz.
I want to ask you about that a little bit, because I feel like so many people that don't do it have the wrong perception, that they think like that's fun or that's the big break and things. Right. And I feel the opposite, in doing it. And haven't ever really done anything that big. I've done a couple of things locally and stuff, but they don't pick people to make them famous. They pick people who are already famous, especially these days. They have YouTube. So they go and they find, the comedians and the mentalists that have the most views. And then they ask them to audition and pick those. And they maybe audition a few others. And then they're just using you to build their audience and picking people that are already good, not the other way around, like they present it on
television. Are a lot of competing priorities.
Yeah.
And the judges have their priority. The producers have their priority. The performers try to get as much out of it as they can, but they understand I'm about to go through the meat grinder, and how I'm presented is ultimately up to the producers. So I could do a great job and still be shown to the world as a goofball. I could get a standing ovation and still get a boo cut in. So everybody at home watching it thinks it's a reality show, when it is a crafted narrative experience. And what you're watching really happened, but it may not have happened to that performer at that time in that place. Like, everybody thinks television is real, but people watching us right now, we're pixels on a screen. We're not actually this tiny. We're not in the machines. So anything within the framework of your monitor or your TV is a lie, even if it's quote unquote reality. So that's kind of a weird meta level thing. but it's bizarre when you go through it in real life and then see the abstracted presentation that the audience comes to your show later or works at a company where you're the evening's entertainment, and they come and go, oh, I saw you on TV. Wasn't that fun? It's like a lot of what you saw was not what happened, right? So
right. Or it spent
really
like
weird.
It was 8 hours in the hot sun and we were miserable all day to get that 2 seconds that you thought was fun or looked like fun, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. The time compression is incredible. Of this was 2 months of my life, and you literally saw 1.75 seconds on the show, and it took me 2 months of being away from family, of being on the road, traveling, to go through this grueling experience and then filming for 14 hours. And you know that if you pick your nose, that's going to be the one thing
on
that
TV,
they show on TV. So for 14 hours, you've got to be hyper aware of being watched and recorded and being on. So it is such a wacky experience. And everybody goes, I would love to be famous. It's like, man, that would be your life. And how tough would that be?
Yeah. I mean, that's so insightful. And we're getting into some of what you do in your other career here. So we'll get to there just in a second. But you work a lot in applied psychology and you use your mind reader skills to help people sell more and lead more and communicate better, tell their stories better, which I think is awesome. But we're hearing some of that, right? When you're talking about the pixels and the fake, and even this show is not edited, but it's not recorded live either. So you're watching something that happened, a couple of months ago. And there are interesting things that happen there. I love what you said about behind the scenes. I think a lot of those shows are so crazy too, because they require the participant, the amateur, to spend thousands of dollars and, like you said, months of their time to prepare for this. And they don't get paid at all. One person gets it. So it's really like playing the lottery there. And even if you win, I've talked with winners of Survivor and races and other shows. It's so ephemeral. There's another season the next year. So that's a big deal for maybe a couple of weeks. And then nobody remembers who you are and nobody cares anymore. And
Right.
you feel like it would be like, oh, that's a lifetime achievement. And it is something you get to talk about.
And there's after, and after will be completely different. You know what? You got to wake up and take the trash out.
Right. Yeah. That's
life doesn't stop, man. And you're right. It's back in the day when there were 3 networks on television and Johnny Carson either made or broke your entire career, then yes, that being on television was the thing that was the pivot point. But nowadays, no, it's a marathon, man. You show up, do your job day in, day out, and eventually you'll get to a point where I guess I'm successful, but it's not like I was on the show and then suddenly everything changed. And you get a bump in bookings, and TV is the great legitimizer.
Right.
It's kind of like it's the parent that we've all had together. So getting that parent's approval means you're the good son.
Wow.
So when you've been on TV, that tells people, I understand TV is good. TV picks good. TV picked him. Therefore, I'm going to think he's good too, because he's now legitimate. Because only stars are on television, and he was on TV, so I guess he's a star. So it's this weird kind of conferring of authority. It's like, yes, you are deemed worthy as a performer by being on television, and that's it, right? Nobody ever watches it, nobody ever sees it, but then they're like, he was on TV. Okay, cool. I'll go watch his show. So that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, man, that's so interesting. I guess we'll just go with the flow here, but that transitions me to your books, because I've written a book too, LinkedIn the Sandler Way for salespeople, and you have 4 books now. And I think they're really interesting. People think writing a book is the hard part, where I found that that's the easy part. I could write a book in a week, but that's the starting line for most people in your career and trying to play for a living. Is then you have to get somebody to actually buy the book, and then anybody who actually reads it. So we all know we've bought books that we don't read, and then making an impact in somebody's life. It's such a longer journey, I found, than writing a book. So since you've done 4 of these now, how did that start for you? And I also feel like when you're a public speaker, that's another legitimizer. They're like, oh, he's a Amazon best-selling author and he's been on TV. He's got to know what he's talking about, right?
Exactly. That I always like to start with, what do you want your book to do for you? Do you want it to make a boatload of money? Well, that's a totally different thing. Or do you want it to be your business card to introduce you to people who could give you lots of money? Like, let me do the second one. I got started because after my shows, doing a 70-minute interactive mind reading show, the whole goal is to make my audiences the stars of the whole experience. It's like, yeah, I could be the rock star. I like to check that box early in the show so that they go, I want this guy to be amazing. I want to see something incredible. Do that up front. And they go, okay, my expectations have been filled. I'm now happy. We still have 65 more minutes to go. So then right. the whole goal is being the facilitator to help other people do things that they think is impossible. So they're the mind reader, they're predicting the future, they're the ones doing everything. And I'm just the guy that's kind of like the wizard behind the curtain, making it all work, but they're getting all the applause. I love that dynamic. That's a lot better than love me. It's more like, look at you. And they're like, hey, you made me feel good about myself. I'm going to love you for that. Like, that's the ticket.
I'm that way too. I host game shows and stuff, and that's really about being the host. You're not supposed to be the show. The contestants are supposed to be the show.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a professional facilitator of amazement, that kind of a thing. So then after shows, I get autograph lines, and then people are asking the same 10 questions over and over and over again, same 20 questions over and over and over again. So when did you know you had the gift? It's not a gift. It's a skill that I've worked my entire life to get really good at, that kind of thing. Like, oh, so I wish I could be extroverted like you. I'm not extroverted. I'm actually introverted. I much prefer to be by myself, but that's not how I get what I want. So I've learned to be the dancing monkey for you. Right. So all those conversations are like, oh, I wish I were confident like you. Like, I wasn't always confident. I had to build it. It's a skill just like anything else. So all those kinds of questions, and man, I can't even imagine being able to just play for a living. Like, how do you make that happen? Well, here you go. All those questions were fun to answer, but then like a year or two later, I start getting emails from people going, hey, thank you so much for talking to me. I don't know if you remember me, but you came to my college and you took the time to chat with me after, and it really had a huge impact on me. I made a whole bunch of changes, and here's where I am today. And I just needed to thank you. It's like, oh man, okay, this actually has meaning beyond just being a dancing monkey that distracts people for a living. Okay, this is kind of cool. So that's when I kind of felt an obligation to share all these ideas with as many people as I could. How do I do that without physically being in the room with somebody? Okay, I'll write a book. So I put all of that into Think Like a Mind Reader, which is helping people think about life in different ways. Plus, there's a trick built into the pages of the book that one of the chapters will explain how to use the book for that trick. Then
that's fun.
The practice of taking it from trick to unexplainable miracle is the process of becoming a better communicator. And the better communicator you are, the better your personal relationships, the better your business relationships, better your relationship with yourself. So that one effect and people's ability to pull it off and then get really good at it is a micro version of what is a pattern that shows up at any scale of success. So there's no digital version of that book. You can't get it for Kindle because that whole book is around that one trick that the book is built to do for you.
That's cool. I love that idea. And but there is digital assets at Elite University, and you've kind of blown this out into full programs and stuff now. One that I saw that I wanted to ask you about was life physics. What does that mean?
Oh man, how many hours do you have? So for me, it's I like to work it up like a proof, like a mathematical proof. Start from super simple, obvious things, and then real quick you get into wacky territory. So it's kind of like real universal physics. There are very few universal principles that are applicable everywhere you go in the universe. That's why they're called universal. Gravity, right, mass, momentum, the laws of physics. They're the same no matter where you are. Okay. The human pattern is pretty much the same. You might be taller than me. Your arm might be longer, but the human pattern is essentially the same no matter who you are. So there are more effective and less effective strategies for aligning the human pattern with the laws of the universe. So it sounds like woo-woo stuff, but really the study of aligning your body with momentum is what most people call martial arts or karate, kung fu, Krav Maga, whatever. They're just different approaches to handling momentum with your body. So then once you know how to navigate physical reality, that process of building that skill set gives you insight into more abstract levels of your life. So when you know how to handle your own physical boundaries in relationship with your attacker, who in the school should be somebody that loves you and you love them and they love you enough to attack you in a way that you can learn from, because when it happens for real, it's going to be real quick and there's not a lot of time to learn in that experience. So in the school, you slow those moments way down so you can go through them and really break them apart. That's not easy work, but it's essential so that you learn to control your body. Then you've learned to control your mind. Then you've learned to control your emotions. Then you've learned to control the most abstract, what people just call your energy, right? Your vibe, whatever. But if my mindset guru can't control his body, why in the world can I believe that he can control something that's more abstract than the physical layer? So you need to be able to manage every dimension of what it means to be human. And there are simple cause and effect relationships to all that stuff. And if you don't believe it, go get punched in the face. And that will show you that you can't think your way out of this. You can't feel your way out of this. You can't nudge your way. You can't subtly influence somebody with your mind. You got to do something about it. So it's kind of a radical focus on your behavior and the actions that you take, and realizing the only thing that you can control is you. And that pretty much ends at your fingertips. So learn to control you. And that's the only hope that you have of controlling outside, is by radically controlling the inside.
Wow, that is interesting and not what I thought you were going to say. So I'm glad I asked the question. I find all of that fascinating as well. I think too many people on this planet are distracted by other things. We mentioned, television and reality shows that aren't real, but also social media that's not social. And some things that are branded very well, but don't actually do any of what we're talking about. And I love that you took it back to what is real and what you can control and what you're actually experiencing, because I feel like that's what Playful Humans is about too, is that we're here to have fun and play. And you kind of use the examples of the not so great times of getting punched in the face or somebody attacking you.
But I love it. It's so
But the
great.
same is true on the opposite side too, right? If you're not healthy, you can't be playful and laugh. And if you're not in the right mindset, nothing is funny. We've both been in front of audiences where that's true.
Yep.
And it's just all of that is connected. And I think that's really what my mission is to help people figure that out so that I do feel like, let me ask you, I feel like it works in reverse, that if you can start finding a playful mindset and you start doing more activities, that you lose weight, you smile more, and you look more attractive, which means you end up like dating more, having more sex, and that makes you happier. And it all kind of like steamrolls together. And it's powerful that direction as well. Have you found that to be true? Or would you say it really is like body, mind, spirit in that order?
I tend to say, listen, I'm a professional mind reader. Like my whole deal is the mind. And the fastest way to change your mind is to do something different with your body. Go lift heavy weights, go get punched in the face, like deal with physics. And that will show you a lot of what you need to see. Because as long as it stays abstract, as long as it stays in your head and you're just thinking about it, well, all those bad things that you're thinking about are just as real as those positive things you're trying to wish into reality. Both of them are made up. So you need to get connected to reality, then develop some competence. Then that gives you the confidence. Then you start to understand, wow, I've been looking forward to going to the gym. This is way different than I ever thought was possible. So yes, it is possible for people to change their minds and change their life. That's kind of my tagline at my shows. However, going to the gym, lifting weights, going and rolling with some awesome people, that's kind of the fast track. You could spend a long time trying to wish your way into different thinking, but then still being at the mercy of those systems that have been built in place over a lifetime, that dealing with somebody that doesn't have that and is just relentlessly coming at you, that's a much different approach. So I agree with you. However, I don't think it would be the fastest way for the most people to work through those processes.
Yeah, I think you're right, mostly because of the attention the human body needs. That, like, if you're starving or you're in pain, you're not gonna be playful and happy and fun.
Right,
Anybody that's
right.
I've had kidney stones.
Fun.
If you've ever had a kidney stone, like, you're not looking to like play video games or anything interesting. You're just looking to make the pain stop.
Right. And when you're working with a client and they're asking you 5 million questions and they're going, I need more answers. I need more information. You're like, listen, just go do the thing. Just go have fun with it. Do it once. And that will teach you more than 5 more sessions with me. Like, I'm not ready yet. Like, that's why you got to go do it. Go do it. Then you'll be ready. It's just a fundamental inversion for most people to just go be playful. You'll learn from the experience. And then we can come back and talk about what you've learned. That is so much more effective than, well, let's meet for an hour a week and then I'll talk to you and then you ask me questions and then you feel like we've done something, but you've not actually done anything in the 2 months that we've been doing this, and you're still going, well, what about this? What about that? Go do it once, man. It'll teach you so much. Yeah.
I totally agree. We have another rule at Sandler at my day job that, David Sandler wrote the book. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. You can't learn anything by hearing somebody else talk about it. Yep. You got to get in there and try it for yourself and see how that works. But you can learn a lot of cool stuff that you can apply in your life and some ideas for that. And that's what I love. So I do want to give you a chance to talk about Elite University and what you're doing there and how your mind reading skills apply to real life.
Thank you. The whole idea is that my skill set is the unique combination of applied psychology, showmanship, and moxie. Those are the three ingredients that go into everything that I do. So I'm not psychic. I don't have the mojo. I'm not the seventh son of a seventh son with the gift of sight. It's all just applied psychology. And it's at a level that is before cultural frameworks, because I've been to South Korea, Istanbul, been all over the world, and these tricks work. So it's working at a fundamental human level, more so than it's culturally, contextually correct, saying in this culture, we do this thing this way, and you need to fit the mold that way in order to be influential. It's like, nope, this is the fundamental human operating system. So all the applied psychology that I use on stage to make the show work is what I've used in my life to make the show work in the whole 9 yards. So elite.university is the place where I'm putting everything, because not everybody works at a Fortune 500 company. Not everybody works at a place that books me to come in and do what I do, because I very rarely sell tickets to a public show. I hate selling tickets. You know what? Just pay me and I'll show up and entertain whoever you want to bring in the room. I don't care.
You can charge them whatever too.
Right.
Yeah,
right. You can charge them, not charge them. Just pay me and I'll play with you. Right. So Elite University is the place where I can share all those ideas and strategies and systems for helping people make more money with the power of the internet is really it. Because the same systems of creating connection in a real life environment are really powerful when you know how to leverage them in a virtual place, like video, on Zoom, on social media, whatever. So that is where I have free and paid courses, and I hang out there most of the day, most days. So if you ever need to get a hold of me, I'm hanging out in there. So it's a small but mighty community of people that are just doing a lot of cool stuff with their life.
That's awesome. Now, I wanted to ask you a couple of final questions about playing for a living. I feel like there's two obvious ones that I try to ask every guest. One is, did you ever have a real career and you have to bail out of that and realize that it was bad, or were you lucky enough to always be playful? And then the second, and I'll let you take them together, is what is it like as a freelancer? I feel like a lot of people think that it's a lot harder than it actually is, or less secure than it actually is when you get fired from every job. You know, if somebody hires you, they're not hiring you again the next week. So that means you have to go find a new one. How has that been for you? What was it like at the beginning, and what's it like now?
It can be a struggle. One of my friends, CJ, told me, he goes, listen, man, anybody can get hired anywhere once. It's being hired back that really means something. So having repeat customers and more ways to help your clients than just being the dancing monkey really is the secret sauce. So I can help them at a trade show where I help them get 2 to 10 times as many leads as they're used to by being the in-booth attractor. Because when I was 13 years old, I was juggling fire on the sidewalks of the town that I grew up in. I would build a crowd, I would entertain them, then I'd pass the hat and get party money. Hey, look at that. That's trade show work. Draw a crowd, entertain them with the custom scripted marketing messaging that is thinly disguised as fun. And people actually have fun and don't even realize, like, wait a minute, now I know about Widget Co. And if what you know fits what you need, go talk to Carl over there. So it's a machine that runs twice an hour. Every hour the show's open, and it gets them really well qualified leads. Well, they're doing 3 or 4 shows a year. Well, then now I'm working with my clients 3 or 4 times a year. Then, hey, you know what? The whole company doesn't know about you, but we know that you're great. So we've got our holiday party coming up. Would you be the entertainment for after the awards ceremony? You bet. Would you ever consider emceeing that? You got it. Right. So there's all sorts of ways that I can help clients, and each one is a new way to help them connect to their audience. So that's kind of cool. So the more
Yeah.
ways that you find to help your clients, the easier time you'll have getting hired again and again and again, which is kind of cool. In terms of, have I ever had a real job? Not really.
Good. Congratulations. That's awesome.
In college, I would do walk around mind reading at the nicest restaurant in town. So that was fun. And then when I graduated, my first job was working at Universal Studios at the magic shop that was in the park.
Awesome.
So I sold magic tricks to tourists from all over the world. And that was my first real sales job. And then I went on tour with a performer, Brian Brushwood. I was his tour manager for about 1.5 to 2 years, where I learned the business of doing college shows. So then I worked the college market for a solid 8-9 years before I kind of went corporate. But yeah, once I kind of transitioned to doing corporate consulting and corporate speaking, the money's a lot better. The clients are awesome. And now I kind of work in an ongoing way, working with a digital marketing company, being one of their folks to help their sales team be more effective and land more business. It helps the employees, it helps the company, it helps me, it helps their clients find better quality service. So to me, that's a rare win situation. So why not do more of those? So that's why I've kind of been focusing more on the business side, because it's a lot of fun and it's helping everybody at a whole bunch of different scales, rather than just distracting an audience for an hour from their problems, then releasing them right back to their problems.
Right. We have a very similar story and path. I didn't go through magic and mentalism, although I really wanted to when I was a kid. I definitely spent some times with rings and juggling, and a summer trying to ride a unicycle, which I did not do, and loved doing tricks. But I never got paid to do that. But I found the same thing, that the hours as a DJ and stuff are just not great. You're working from like 9 to 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning for not a lot of money. And that you can do essentially the same thing from like 8 to 10 a.m. for a breakfast event and get paid 10 times as much. Sure.
Wait a minute. Like a this trade. Math is amazing.
Yes. Great stuff. So I didn't tell you that we like to play a game here on the show. So do you want to play a game?
Let's go for it.
All right. We are going to spin our wheel of games. There are 10 games that it could possibly land on. And you got Survey Says. Survey Says is an easy game. You've seen this one on television, I'm sure. Yeah. I give you a survey. We asked 100 people. And if you give me an answer that's on the card, you win. The first one is, name a reason one grocery store might say they're better than the other.
Fresher produce.
Marketing. Oh, it's on there. Number 3. Number 3 answer. Nicely done. All right. Name a kind of place where you hate to be seated near a screaming baby.
Restaurant.
Ooh, restaurant's number 2 answer.
Movie or anywhere.
Number 1. Yes. At a party, name something you might offer to help the hostess do.
Ooh, clean up.
Clean up is the number 1 answer. Yes. You nailed it. Nicely done. All right. So that wins you a free 30-second commercial here. Anything you want to pitch, asks, or gives for the audience? How should we wrap up?
Ooh, yeah. Feel free to connect with me. If you want to learn, go to Elite University. If you want to find out about everything that I do, go to jonathanpritchard.me. Buy my book. Find me on Twitter, which is like being locked in a car with me for 15 hours as I share every single stupid idea that passes my brain, makes it through my hands onto Twitter. So that's the platform that I'm most active on.
Love it. One last question for you. What's on your fun bucket list? What do you still hope to accomplish as your like dream gig or vacation or something that's still on your
you know what? I honestly don't have anything.
That's awesome.
Like I could die happy today because everything I've ever wanted to do, I've already done. And it's awesome.
Well, I love it. Keep doing it, man. I really appreciate talking to you today. And So much fun, great stuff. I'm going to dive into those books and courses too, because it feels like a something that would be right up my alley. I really appreciate you taking the time. And if you had fun with this podcast, go check out Playful Humans as well. This is a community of other people rediscovering the power of play, and that could be anything for you. So we've talked about a lot of different things, but it could be art, it could be singing, dancing, laughing, it could be puzzles or games or board games, whatever it is. Go find out what it is for you and do more of it. Go out there and play, everybody.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine.